Hello, everybody, and I'm so happy to see at least 50 of you here on time and ready because we're doing a giveaway tonight. And what I'm going to be doing, and we're going to make this in the live stream. This is a custom nameplate. Now, this was made out of solid walnut with a maple inlay. And I did this one, was my first attempt, and I tried to get, I shouldn't have used that font. That's my font that I use for my engravings, but these areas around the W and the stick on the hobo right there, which you can see it's less than a millimeter. It's about 0.6 to 0.8 millimeters. And with the way that the wood burns, some of it burned evenly, some of it burned really, really aggressively. And so it's not as tight as I'd like, but it still looks pretty darn good. So I'm not going to use this font in the giveaway tonight, but, and I'm going to show you everything. I processed this wood, got everything ready, and I'm going to show you all that stuff step by step. But in order to do this and give one away, we got to give it away now because I got to know who to make it for. So we're going to do a random drawing here. And then the winner needs to email me immediately at hobowithwood@gmail.com and let me know exactly what they want it to say. Make sure you spell it correctly. And we're going to make this for one lucky person right here, right now. And I'm going to show you how easy it is, especially with me and my MK2. But the things that I'm going to do, you can do with any laser. It might be a little bit trickier on the setup, but anybody can do this. So we're going to do a random giveaway. And here is what you need to put in the comments for your entry. My desk. Hashtag my desk. If you want a custom nameplate, walnut and maple, put in hashtag my desk. And you can pick whatever you want to go on the nameplate. Hashtag my desk. And we're going to give a minute for people to get entered in there. And what I started with was a square 2x2 piece of walnut. And that's solid wood, baby. That's some hard stuff. So I had to process this first to get 2 of these. And I did that with a table saw. And I made this jig today. Now, this is not laser related. This is for the table saw. So that's the backstop here. And I feed my piece in here like so. And it sits right in there. And there we go. And then I feed that through the table saw. And I have to take it out, flip it over. Because I only cut about halfway through. And then do the other half. And that will give me 2 of them. But then I got this odd shape. And I need to do a pocket here for the inlays. So how do you get that to sit the way you need it to in the laser? Well, you make another jig. That's why this is called getting jiggy with it. So I had one jig to split it. And then with the MK2, anybody that has the MK2, this is something that you can easily do. And this is a third one of these jigs I've made, purpose-built, specific use jigs. This is my desk plaque jig. That's why it's called desk plaque jig. But the 3 holes right here, those are the pins that are sticking up in the bed of it that you use for your rotary alignment and your rotary placement. So I put these in those pins And I know exactly where this is on my work bed, and I'm going to show you that in LightBurn. So I can just place that down in my work bed and then take my blank, and that's cut with 245s in it. So when I put that in here, it's now flat. And I've got an easy way to do my pocket for my inlay. And then I use, that's probably 3.5 millimeter hard maple. And there's the cutout I did for the hobo with wood, or the hobo wood. And I'll use this same piece for whoever wins this tonight to do the maple inlays in the walnut. Let's see here. So one more time, if you're late to the party, hashtag my desk, if you want a chance to win this walnut and maple inlay desk plaque. And they sell these, you can buy these on Amazon for anywhere from $20 to $30 a piece for the walnut blanks. And some people offer the ability to personalize, and they'll engrave it. But I haven't seen anybody doing inlays. They'll engrave them, or they'll put the brass plaque on there, or that, what is that, the row mark stuff, where it's the 2-layer and you can engrave through it and just adhere a plaque on top of this. So this right here is about a $20, $25 blank, plus the maple for the inlays, plus my time and effort. And so this would be, if I'm going to make these and sell them, I would probably sell these for probably around $59.95. It's around $60. And I didn't say this, but this giveaway is open to everybody. I don't care where it's going to be shipped to. So if you're in New Zealand, you're in the UK, get in here, put in there my desk. Only one entry will get you entered in. Multiple entries don't count. We got 58 entries and 101 people watching. So half of you may not need or want a name plaque. And I don't care what it says. If you want a gag nameplate, if you want, whatever you want on there, I don't care. Keep it PG. But if you want to make a gag gift for your boss, whatever, I'll put whatever you want on there. So we're gonna give it. Let's see, we're at 9:08. We'll wait till 9:10. I'm gonna give it 2 more minutes for people slowly getting in here, and we'll get this giveaway, the drawing done. Get the winner to give me exactly what he wants on there. Now keep in mind, another thing that I did. Now, when I first did this one was 12 inches long. And it's actually too long. There's too much space on there. So I shortened it to 10 inches. And 10 inches is going to look better for putting the name on there. And with this, there was not only just too much void on the ends, but you couldn't stretch the letters tall enough and wide enough proportionally for it all to look good. And all those, and when I was looking at Amazon, about all the nameplates you see, they're in between 8 and 10 inches. None of them were a foot long. And that's why they don't look good a foot long. So keep in mind, if you want one and you want it to be a gag one, you got about 10 inches of space here and about 2 inches in height. So we can't put a paragraph on there. But I'm good. I don't care what it says. And it can go anywhere. We'll ship it. I'll ship this one out anywhere it needs to go. Hashtag my desk. All right. And here is, I told you I'd show you this. I still haven't finished it yet. I still got a little more sanding to do and probably a couple more coats. But this is my triple thick glaze on the Tony's ice cream. And I'm doing that on purpose to show you the sheen and the shine. That triple thick glaze is awesome stuff. The shine on that, look at it. And I'm doing that this way because this is exactly how it's going to be displayed. It's not going to be behind glass or in a frame or a shadow box. And I wanted to really protect that. And then also, I'm putting this on so thick and so heavy and so many coats that it almost looks like it's got a clear epoxy pour over it. That's what it looks like. I won't do that as thick on the back. I will protect the back, but I won't do it as thick and as heavy. But that right there, it's not a full can. It's probably 80% of a can, of 1 can of triple thick glaze. I've used almost 80% of that just getting on just the face of it. But it's almost finished. Almost. All right. Ready for the drawing. Switching over. We're going to draw. Let's see here. We got 70 entries. Drawing. All right, Lois Zock. Did I say that right? Lois Zock. Congratulations, you are the lucky winner. So, hobowithwood@gmail.com. Hobowithwood@gmail.com. Email me now exactly what you want it to be in there. Gmail. Hobo with Wood. In fact, just make sure there's no confusions. hobowithwood@gmail.com. And someone asked the question after I ended the live stream last week about which joiner did I get, because that was one of the other processes. I went through the table saw to split it, and because I cut half and then flipped it and cut the other half, then I had to run it through the plane or the joiner to get that nice and smooth. And I mentioned that last week, and someone asked, "Hey, which did you get?" Well, switch. That's the joiner I went with. It's a Win. It's 10 amp, and it. Where did I see it at? Spinning at 22,000 cuts per minute. It's actually, I think it's a dual blade, so it's 10,000 RPMs per minute. And it was a higher RPM than the Craftsman or anything else that I've seen at Lowe's. And at $249, it was a heck of a buy compared to anything else I've seen at Lowe's. So if this is something you've been looking for, I'm going to drop a link. Copy. Here is I dropped a link in the comments there for my referral on Amazon to that particular joiner. So we got that out the way. And let's see if I got anything in my inbox yet. Not yet. And let's see here. Well, all right, Lois. I don't want to assume that you just want Lois Zock on there, but I want you to email me in case you want something else on there and you don't want everybody to see it. You can email me. They're going to see the engraving as it takes place, but I'd rather have you email me exactly what you want, and I'll get this. In fact, while I'm waiting for that email to come over, I'm going to show you how hard this is to set up. I've got the camera in place. I already got the honeycomb out. And that easy, that quick, that's ready to go. I'll refresh my email here. All right, Lois. Okay, she says she just sent it. Okay. Refreshing again. Nothing yet. All right. We'll wait for it to refresh. All right. Let's see here. Let's go over to LightBurn on camera. All right. So here is my file for this jig. Now, this is what I did earlier today. And just to show you, and I didn't even see this little sharp point right here, but from there to there, it's 0.8 of a millimeter. And his little stick, 0.83 millimeter. And the Rolly was still able to get that small and precise of a cut. And I was still able to get that inlay in there without breaking it. It's not as uniform as I'd like it to be, but that was really pushing the limits on one that small. So let's see here. Nope, wrong button. Refresh. Still no email. Check the phones if the phone's any faster. Nope. Not a yet. And I missed something. Hey, thank you, Brad. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciated. Waiting on the email. This is turning not email, but it's snail mail. And Dave, I'm going to show you all that here in just a second. And I think I seen another question. Larry says, check your spam. I'll do that too. More spam. No spam. I keep my spam. I keep my spam empty. Inbox. Nothing yet. But I think it was, it might have been Carl that asked about the pins in the MK2 versus the MK1. I don't know if they're the exact same or not, because I don't have any way to check that. Maybe I used the wrong email. hobowithwood@gmail.com. No spaces, no dashes. Oh, okay. I see you put it in. Okay. And I can do that. We'll look and see how good it looks. All right. So don't worry with the email. That's what you got. That's what you want. And you got it spelled out for me there. Let's switch over auto and go back into LightBurn. All right. So just in case, I've kept my 12-inch spacing in here. This is if I'm using a 12-inch blank. And then I've got a red toolpath in here for a 10-inch blank. And then I've got an inward offset here that I'm going to use for the size of the text on a 10-inch piece. So I'm going to grab the toolpaths, say Control D, duplicate them, and move those over here for right now. That's a 10-inch piece. And if we go with a font that doesn't have those itty bitty tiny letters in them, let's see here. I don't want to do that, but I like the Cooper. Cooper's what I used on Tony's ice cream. Let's see what that looks like. So Gabe Andrew Zock. It's gonna be on a black layer. Gabe Andrew Zock. Actually, I like that. That looks pretty good. What do you think, Lois? You like that? Okay, very good. All right. So that's set up and ready to send to the laser, but it's not positioned where I need it to be on the workbed in LightBurn. So first, I'm going to get rid of the Hobo of wood. I don't need that in there, and I don't know what it's grouped to. We'll ungroup all that. Hobo of wood. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. All right. Now, I'm going to grab, in fact, I don't need this anymore. I'm going to grab all of this, and I'm going to group it all, and I'm going to send it to the bottom left corner, and I'm going to turn off my camera for a second. And I've got notes in here for my jig. Before cutting, place material 2.5 inches up from the bottom of the honeycomb. Now, whenever I figured out the positions for the pins in the honeycomb or in the bed of the MK2, there's also a rivet for the bed that, in order to clear all that out for the 12 by 12 piece of material for the jig, it needed to be, in fact, I'm going to cut that off now. It needed to be 2.5 inches up. In fact, I'll switch back over here. Switch. There we go. So this rivet right here, that rivet was in the way. And over here, so to clear those rivets, I had to come up 2.5 inches from the edge of what would be perceived as the honeycomb or the work area. So what I do, and what I did, I sent it all to the bottom right corner, then just set my settings to my arrow movement is 2.5, oh, not millimeters. Need to switch to inches, go to settings, and tell it 2.5 inches, 2.5 inches. Say okay. And now with that entire thing selected, I just move it up one time. That just jumped it up 2.5 inches. That position is exactly where I cut out the initial template. Now I could save that right there in that position. And so when I open the file, it will always be in that position. I can even lock that down so that it doesn't get moved. But because I know it's just 2.5 inches up from the right corner, and because I'm going to be moving that off the workbed to do the engraving for Andrew here in a minute, I don't lock it all down and I don't put it because I know where it needs to be. So now we've already set up Andrew. I'm going to group that and I'm going to send it over here to the center of that one. And that didn't work because I didn't get the center of it. Let's grab, because that's all grouped. What I'll do is I'll just drag it into position. Grab that arrow and it goes right there. Now with that in position, I'm going to go over to my laser controls and I'm going to frame it. And I don't know how well this will show up through the glass, but we'll see. And if I select Andrew, see, that's all, well, in fact, that's all grouped. So this should go right around the perimeter of the piece. So frame. I didn't focus yet. And that's something I thought about doing. I don't. Do any of you guys do a checklist on your before you do your jobs? Because even though we're pros, we're doing so much, we always forget that one thing. In this case, I forgot to frame it. So I'm going to send it to the middle of the workbed. Now frame it, or not frame it, focus it. Ah, stupid. Wrong one. Now try framing it again. All right, that looks good. I just want to make, with the jig, it should have been spot on, but I always want to double check and triple check anyway. So now that I've got that set, everything's focused, framed. Now I need to just make sure that my speed and power settings are right and send this to the job, and we're going to burn our pocket out. And I'm using Dimitri's settings, and for the, let's see here, and here. For the maple, for the inlay, assign. Yep. I'll be using 6,000 millimeters a minute, 100% power with a bidirectional fill, crosshatch, and a 0.08 line interval. And that will take about 20 minutes. 20 minutes to create that pocket, but we got plenty of stuff to talk about and explain this jig in while it's doing the pocket. So that's done. Say okay. Laser. And start. And we're not going to watch that for 20 minutes. But I'm still figuring this out. Let's see here. There. There. No. 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 Main. Here. Picture in picture. Here. Nope. Oh, well, we ain't going to worry about that. I'll screw it up. All right. So that's running for the pocket. Now, what I do for the inlay for the maple, just copy that, Control D, duplicate it, bring it up here. I need to ungroup it all so I can select just the text, and then I'm gonna put it on the cut layer. And I'll check my library for the, oh, you know what? I did that for maple, not walnut. But I think it's the same. Let's look here. I screwed up again. Inlay. Yeah, it's the same. So I got lucky that time. But for the maple, we want to cut it. and it is, yep, that one, and apply. Okay, good. All right, so now I've got my settings ready. So as soon as the pocket's done, I can grab this and drop it right back in the same plate. Well, I don't even know. I won't do that. I will move my jig and put this down here and cut it out of the maple. So before I go into any more depth or anything, talk about anything else, let's look through here and see if anybody's got any questions or special comments or anything at all. All right, I'm going back. I'm looking at, we got past the my desk. Congratulations. Let's see here. What's that now? That finish looks a lot like the Florida swamp art finish on Cypress. Florida swamp art. I'm not familiar with that. Well, I'm happy to help. In fact, I need to clarify. I don't know if anybody's. I had a request for some assistance this week, and I made a comment the other day, jokingly, about, well, this is my full-time job, but I don't do anything. Video on Tuesday, video on Thursday, and a video on Saturday night. And just work a couple hours a week. But that's a joke. And I think a few people didn't realize that how many hours I spend sitting here with this thing. There was a request for some help, in-person help, and they were wanting to come by, but I can't have anybody in this house for insurance reasons. And it's a long story, but the insurance lady, she's like, first she didn't want me to even have the lasers in here. And I said, well, it's my house. You can't tell me I couldn't have a little small workshop in my house. Then if that was the case, everybody in town's breaking, rules, whatever. And they finally agreed, but they don't put any signs out front. You can't advertise any business, and you can't have any customers or anybody in the shop. Anybody coming over, you need to pick up any goods, or you need to meet them outside. I'm like, okay. So I'm like, no, you can't come over. I can't. I'll be happy to meet you, and we'll have lunch, and I'll help you. And then that didn't really work because they for some reason they were under the impression that they really needed to have the laser. They wanted to work with the laser, so they invited me to come to their place, which is a little over an hour away. I was like, yeah, well, I could, but that's an hour drive there. We're going to be at least an hour or so working on stuff, and an hour back. That's 3 hours of my time. I would hate to tell you how much I would need to do that. Now, if you want to remotely connect with me, I'll help you for free. I don't charge a penny for people if I can help them remotely. Because I can, like, many times this week when I was doing this, I was sitting here waiting for glue to dry, so I could easily do an online help while I'm waiting for glue or paint to dry. But after explaining that, they were kind of like, oh, we didn't really realize just how busy you were. And I said, well, I can help you remotely. But then that was the end of the conversation. But Brad, I'm glad if everything got worked out. I'm happy. I'm happy to help. Jimmy says he's bought several wind tools and very satisfied with them. I'm happy with this one. I've been impressed with it so far. Scan it down, on down. Okay, there's Andrew. We got it. Yeah, and always a checklist before it will start or frame. I don't have a checklist before framing, and I have a checklist for the CO2, and I probably should do one here. Question mark from Ashra. Could you send a link to the camera you use by the machine? I'll have to look it up, and I will either email it to you, or I'll get it to a messenger. I'll get it to you. But that's something I don't have really. And these are okay, but they're not fantastic because they're not autofocus. So if autofocus is got its pluses and like here you can read that. That's forever and ever, amen. And you've got the touch. But if I come in here, you see how it starts getting blurry. It doesn't have the ability to autofocus. Now I could reach up there and focus it, but then I'm out of focus and it's all manual. And so, but those autofocus ones like Patrick uses, he's got to hide his face and everything for it to focus. So even those have their downsides. But I will send you the link to what I've got. Yeah, engraving at 30 watt. Yeah, and that's the problem. Michael says, I have a checklist set up on one of my systems, but there are times I just see it and click OK before even checking it. And, and that's what happens a lot of times is it's just like, okay, it's a default OK click without even thinking, did I actually do all those things? And how deep is the inlay pocket? Well, we'll know when we get done. Each piece of wood's going to be different. With these settings, it's probably going to be at least 1/8 of an inch. But we won't know until it gets done because not all wood, because we're dealing with hardwood here, real hardwood, not some plywood stuff. The plywood stuff, you might be a little bit more consistent, but with the hardwoods, it's going to vary depending on grain, the species, just all kinds of different things. But it's one pass, but it's crosshatch, so it's 2 passes. Should work. Should be plenty. Couldn't you put the pockets in the block before cutting the block in half and not worry about the jig? Couldn't you put the pockets in the block? I don't follow you. Here's the block of wood. Where am I going to put the pockets? Because the pockets are in here. I'm cutting it down the middle to get the 245s. So and then the pocket goes in there, and pockets inside there. Wouldn't be no way to put a pocket inside that block. The next piece to be cut, will you apply the offset to the laser at that point? The offset. Talking about the kerf. I don't know what offset. Yeah, are you talking about kerf? Yep, and I helped me and Ashra. We worked for quite a while remotely. She says remote help even across the seasons, but what she meant to say was across the seas. She's down in Antigua, and she and I worked quite a bit and had some good times getting some files put together. Is Dimitri's library available somewhere to us? It's available to all MK2 owners. All Rolly Lasermatic MK2. If you've got the Rolly, you should have it on a thumb drive. If you don't have it, then you can contact Dimitri through the Rolly Automation Facebook group and say, hey, I've got my MK2, but I don't have your library and I don't see it on my thumb drive. But he can help you through the Facebook group. Just go to the Rolly Automation Facebook group and tag Dimitri, and he's really good about contacting folks and getting back to them. Let's see here. Question mark. Is there a way to slow the travel while homing to keep the laser from bouncing? I'm pretty sure that the homing speed is something that's in the firmware. It's not a setting in LightBurn. Can you change it? Yeah, probably. I don't know if it's something that you can do through G code, through going in and changing the dollar value. I don't know. That's not something I'm familiar with. But which laser do you have, Ed? Because if you've got a laser with homing switches, then you really don't have to worry about it. Even if it bounces, it's coming back and hitting those homing switches, and that homing switch is going to stop it. But it should, even though it bounces a little bit, it should move again and come to a slow rest right in position. At least that's how this one works. Yeah, I've got the exhaust on and the fan on. I had all that on before we even started. So if it's not terribly noisy, great. But I had all that on before I even went live. Oof. So you got the D1 non-pro. You got the X-Tool D1. If you've got the X-Tool D1, that's the laser that I started with. And all I can say is, be sure you're in the live stream for the anniversary for your chance to win your very own Rolly, because the D1 does not have homing switches. The D1 was horrible about a lot of things, and homing was one of the biggest problems. What I would do if I was you, one, you should never move the gantry around by hand if you can help it. And if you do have to do that, as long as you move it slowly and don't just drag it across there, you should be okay. If you're moving your laser manually and you move it fast enough that you see your fan and if your laser's not on, and when you move it and you see the fan and the module start to spin, well, you're moving it fast enough that it's sending some feedback through there and sending a signal to tell that fan you're moving it too fast. But if I was you with the D1, this is what I did to overcome the lack of being able to home the machine. Home it. I'm doing this, but it's actually up here. And it's going to go up there and bounce off the rails half a dozen times. You know, it's like a ping pong ball. But once it gets up there, then take it and physically move it right up into that corner position. And then, before you start your job, no matter what your job is, if you're doing something like this, or you're doing an engraving, a picture, whatever, with the D1, what I did was I would go over in an arbitrary place over on the workbed and put a little circle, and then tell the laser to go out and engrave that little circle. But the trick is, don't have it return to the home position. Set your finish position. I think Dave Clack, Clack uses 10-10. If you set your return to finish position to 10-10, then it's going to do that little engraving and then go back to 10-10 and stop. It won't go all the way to home and bounce around. It's going to go to a known position, and then you start your job from that 10-10. The next time you do it, it's going to go to what it perceives as 10-10, but it might be slightly different. But if you do that little circle and then set your position, return to finish position, and it goes to that known 10-10, then you start your job. It's going to go, when it finishes, it's going to go back to that same 10-10. And then if you need to go back and do the job, send it back out, you can. It's going to go, it will then be repeatable. You're overcoming the lack of homing switches by sending it to a fixed position instead of sending it to a random home position, because without those limit switches, it has a random home. But physically move it into place, send it out to a job, send it back to a finished position, whatever value you want it to be. If you want it to be up here at 10-10, or if you want it over here out of your way, then you set your 380, whatever you want it to be. But that's how I overcome my struggles with the D1. And that are some of my struggles with the D1. And there we go. Ed, look into $1.24 for slow homing and $1.25 for fast homing. So if you did $1.24 for slow homing, that'll help some. But Timmy, the D1 has no limit switches, and by slowing it down, it probably won't bounce around as much. But that D1, when you send it to home, it goes up there and hits that side rail and then the top rail, and it'll bounce. It bounces all over the place. But for those who have limit switches, when you send it to home, it's going to go to that same home position within a fraction of a millimeter, the exact same one every time. That's not true with those without limit switches. And if you don't have limit switches, if it's a D1 or any of them without limit switches, setting a finished position is the way to overcome that. But the trick is, it's not just setting the finished position. You have to set the finished position, and before you start your job, do some arbitrary, stupid, it can be a little period where it just goes out, does a quick job, and then goes to that finished position, and then starts your job and goes to that same finished position again. Then you can send it back out, same finished position again. All right, so we're caught up on all the comments. Let's see here where we're at. Done and done. Switch. So we're already done the horizontal, and now it's doing the vertical. And I honestly don't know if it's all right. It started at a G, so it's just got started on the vertical. Yeah, James, the D1 Pro, they added the limit switches because of all the people complaining about the D1 non-pro. Al adding limit switches, I don't know. Technical stuff like that, which that's really not that technical. It kind of is, because physically putting the switches on there ain't no big deal. But then where are you going to wire them to? Does that board, does that laser have a place to plug them into? I don't know. Probably not. But I don't know. Yeah, it'll be the for my second anniversary on YouTube. My 2-year anniversary will be June 15th at 3 p.m. And I'm doing it early so that folks in the Eastern and the Western Hemisphere can catch it at a fairly reasonable hour. And because the giveaway is going to be international, just like this. It's not going to be limited to just the 48 states. So June the 15th at 3 p.m. will be my 2-year anniversary on YouTube as Hobo with Wood. And Leo from Rolly Automation was kind enough to say, yeah, we'll do a Rolly giveaway for the anniversary. And I'm out of RC. I got to make a run to Dollar General. When engraving on the Rolly 20 watt, do you go with the grain or against the grain? I did a run and test. Still not looking good. Well, depends on your species. Some of them look okay. Some of them look terrible. And like I wish I had the ash here. I had some ash, and I did an engraving with the ash, and the pulpwood was pretty soft. In fact, I showed it in one of the live streams in the past week or so, but the grain did not burn away nearly as well. Hey, we're done. So that didn't take that long. That's finished. But I'll answer this question. We'll pull it out. But because the ash did not burn evenly, there was lots of hips and valleys in the pocket. And it wouldn't matter if you went with the grain or against the grain when you're working with a species like that, because that is the nature of the beast of that wood. That's what that wood does. This wood burns away really clean and even. You don't have those high ridges from the grains protruding up from your pocket. So what I would suspect, Moses, is what you were encountering is a result of the wood, the species. That's been my experience. 3 p.m. Eastern time. Sorry. Dirk. I'm in Eastern time zone. I'm in North Kakalaki, North Carolina, redneck central, redneck capital of the world. 3 p.m. Eastern time, -4 GMT right now until the daylight thing comes back again, and then we'll be -5, I think. But right now we're -4 GMT. -4 GMT. And Ashra's claiming that Rolly. All right, so let's grab this off the laser. And honestly, guys, that actually looks really good just like that. You know, sand it and clean it up. With that dark engraving on that walnut, looks really, really good. I'm gonna do a quick clean sand with it. The sap from the walnuts come up. It's a little bit gummy on top. It's a lot gummy on top. And I could do like Clack does. Run over and grab the DA real quick. But this is about the only workout I get. And to get that Tony's ice cream so slick and so smooth, and I've still got to do a couple more. I block sand it, get it nice and smooth. Apply another coat, block sand it, get it nice and smooth multiple times. All right, brush that all out of there. Clean it up. How you like my compressor? All right, let's see here. Larry says, yeah, that does look good black. And yeah, that is impressive. That looks good like that. And I'm just using 320 sandpaper right now, Karen. All right, y'all, no fighting. Looks like an earthquake. No, I tell you what. Now this is sad, Bob. This is sad. That's not the camera shaking. That's not the camera shaking, Bob. It's the whole house. It's the whole house shaking. And that's another reason they don't want nobody in this place. This house was built in 1901. It's not built on a foundation. It's built on pillars. And in 1901, the pillars were made of whatever they could find at the time. So they're not nice brick column pillars. But if I walk across the room, that's me stomping my feet. The whole house is shaking. It ain't the camera, or the camera's moving, but it's because the house is moving. Yeah, I almost gave up on Hobo with wood. I almost gave up on Hobo with wood because of my trials and errors for the first 4 months, which all stemmed from the D1. I had, and now I'm a novice, didn't know anything about lasers, and I was struggling to begin with. But that was not a great laser for someone's first laser. Not a great laser at all, as far as I'm concerned. But for your first one, it definitely was not the best option. I'm considering an X2S1 with the rotary for my first laser. Can I get your opinions on that, and what do you use? I don't know anything about the X2S1. I think Clack's got that. I think he did a review on it. Pretty sure that's one that he's reviewed. After my first 4 months of struggles with the D1 and the lack of customer support from X-Tool, and I'm not making this up. 4 months in, I sent them a request for service, help. Never got any help. I got me another laser. And then 1 year later, I was contacted by someone from X-Tool. And I said, what is it? She said, well, we got a request here. You need customer support. And I said, for what? And they told me, I said, oh, yeah, okay. Look at the date of that request. And they said, yeah, we're running a little bit behind. I said, dude, that was a year ago. I don't need you no more. I don't throw that out in the trash. I don't need you no more. I actually gave that laser away. I gave it away. And because of that, I was done with X-Tool. And is the S1, is that one of the, is it more than a diode? Is that one of the infrareds or CO2s or something? I'm not familiar with the S1. All right. Letter depth. Question on letter depth. I can do better than estimate it as soon as I find here it is. Get my mic out and get my plunge gauge. Plunge. 2.8 millimeters. 2.9 millimeters. 2.9 millimeters. So just under 3 millimeters with that crosshatch. There it is at 3 millimeters. So that's actually a good depth. And actually that would be marketable. You could sell that just like it is, as far, and then clean it up, sand it, put a sealer or a finish on it. That would actually look really good just like that. But in fact, I intended to do the maple inlays, but do you want the maple inlays, or do you want that just like that? Mrs. Ock, do you want the maple? The S1 is a diode, and it can use the 20 or 40 watt, or the infrared configuration. Yeah, I'm jaded, okay. And I'm maple inlays. Yes, ma'am. Right on it. I was hoping you'd say that. I'm jaded. What I was about to say, whenever it comes to my opinion about X-Tool, but my jadedness is not without reason, and it's not unsubstantiated. They may have gotten better with their support, their customer support. Maybe, I don't know. But that was the biggest thing for me. When I bought my first laser, and I was like, okay, I would prefer to buy one that was in the U.S. and had U.S. support. But at the time, everything come out of China. They were all Chinese made. There was no other options. And the one thing X-Tool does probably better than anybody else is marketing. Man, they market the heck out of their stuff. and I've got them blocked on my YouTube channel. They're not supposed to be able to advertise on mine. But any laser video you watch on YouTube is almost always filled with commercials from Xtool. They're really good at that. All right. So now, switch. Take out my jig. I need to raise the focus. And I'm slowly moving my module. Grab the maple. And this one has got a lot of grain. Got a lot of grain going on here. This part didn't, but this does. And that will be evident whenever I place it in there. I'm going to look for another piece of maple real fast that doesn't have quite so much grain in it. Oh my. All right, so I've just placed that randomly on the workbed, kind of in the center of the workbed. Now, back over to LightBurn. And this is why I don't have this locked on my tool bed. I know how to position it every time. Now I can just grab this, temporarily group it, rotate it, lower the door. I still haven't focused yet, but we're going to work on positioning. Now, a lot of folks, especially newbies, they're wanting to use their camera as an absolute. And I don't feel like cameras are or should be an absolute when it comes to positioning. So I just randomly put that kind of centered on the board there. I'm going to update my camera overlay. Update. And so now I've got that, but I'm not going to trust that. I'm going to ungroup all this, delete those work paths, tool paths, get rid of those. And then I'll bring that kind of in position with relation with the camera there. And then I'm going to send the laser to about here. And now, actually, you know what? I'm going to home it first. Because I moved that where I could reach that, and I moved it slowly by hand. Didn't want to, but time. I moved it, physically moved it. Now I'm going to home it so it knows exactly where everything's at, so that if I have to send it out again, I can. So controls, laser, home. And now that it's homed, I'll send it right back out, and then I'll go up there and focus it, and then check my framing. All right, that'll work. Double check my speeds and powers for maple. And did I already do that? I already did that, didn't I? Assign. Yep, already did that. All right. So now it's just a matter of sending the job to the laser. Now, wrong button. On Hobo with wood, all that text was welded together. It was in script. It was in cursive. So there was nothing that was going to fall through my honeycomb and get lost. I want to double check this Gabe before I send it. And I don't think anything's small enough to fall through. There are no periods, nothing like that I've got to worry about, or no period, no eyes or anything I got to keep. So I believe we're good just like it is. So done, done, done. Laser start. So the settings I'm using there are 1100 millimeters a second and 100% power with 5 passes. 5 passes at 1100 millimeters a minute. And those give me clean drops and will fit in there pretty easy. All right, so while we're waiting on that, back to Mark says that would look great. Yeah, you know, that's something else that I thought about. I've not done it yet. I've got some sitting right down here, but doing just a deep engraving like that and then do a color-filled epoxy, yeah, man, that'd look good. It'd be really sharp. Now, and I think you've already seen it, Brandon. It was about 3 millimeters, 2.8 to 3 millimeters on that pocket. Yeah, Chris, I hate you missed it because you weren't here for the chance to win it. Because in order for me to give it away, I had to get a winner right out of the gate. So we gave it away right out of the gate. And I hate you weren't here for that. As soon as I get through with Rolly, I'll send you that. I don't know. I don't follow. But anyway, I was talking about I'm jaded about the X tool because of my personal experiences and not having the customer support that I thought I deserved as a customer. They may be better than they were, you know, because that was a year ago. I haven't tried to get in touch with them in over a year, and they haven't contacted me in over a year. But that was enough for me to say, no, thank you. With the Rolly Automation Facebook group, you can get a hold of Leo, the owner of the company, not just some fly-by-nighter or some, you know, call center that you're going to get in Turkey or India or Pakistan. The owner of the company is contactable through the Facebook group. Dimitri is extremely good and very quick about responding to requests for technical support. Dimitri's really the go-to guy, but if there's a real problem or a situation, you can always tag Dimitri and Leo and make everybody aware. And the customer support on the Rolly is second to none. Is it the best laser out there? Yes, it is for some people, depending on what you're using it for. I watched Stephen Tari's. He got to get his hands on plaques while he was down and visiting plaque. And I started to do a parody of it, and I still might, showing him just praising it. And, you know, you remember Max Headroom on MTV? I thought about taking Steve's video and just chop it and editing it together so it looked like Max Headroom, but everything he's going to be saying is nothing but all positives, all raving, nothing but 100% the best laser ever after it was edited together. Depending on what you want to do with your laser, it may or may not be the laser for you. But for your average diode hobbyist, man, this machine, in my opinion, is second to none, simply because the precision, the quality of the build, and the customer support is second to none. And for me, customer support is everything. I prided myself on customer support at my former business. You got to keep your customers happy and satisfied. And X-Tool was not doing that. Don't do it. Go to Lasermatic MK2 with the rotary. You won't regret it. So yeah, I think he was Jim's referring to don't get the X-Tool S1. Yeah, that, and he mentions that comes with the infrared laser head, and that's, see, I would never use that. Not something that I need, not something that I want. But for somebody who does, if you're doing jewelry or precious metals or then this is not the laser for you. If you need an infrared module, this ain't your machine. That's why I guess like what Steve was saying is it's not the laser to end all lasers, because it depends on what you need from your laser. Okay, the cutout just finished, and you're much welcome. Much welcome. Ba, ba, ba. Yeah, gold foil, gold inlays. That would I would do. I've got the gold foil here. I'm not a big fan of it. I would do a gold acrylic or a gold epoxy. I'd do a gold, sparkly gold epoxy fill before I would do gold inlays. All right, so this is done. And I'm not going to do the entire inlay right here during the live because it's a little bit tricky, but I'm going to show you the process I go through on at least Gabe, because we're at an hour 15. So I'm going to get this Gabe off here. We'll get Gabe inlaid in there, show you how I do it. But then once I get this glued up, it's going to sit under clamps, under pressure for 45 minutes before I even take the clamps off of it. And before I leave the shop tonight, I will get all of the letters inlaid and glued in there and under clamp. And then tomorrow I'll come in and clean up the inlays and get this out in the mail. So that's one thing you do need to email me. Let's see here. Let me go over here a second. Dun, dun, dun. So yes, you got, and in fact, I'm going to reply to you. Oh, there you did. See, you're so smart. I've already got your information. Well, looky there. You're Steve's neighbor. You're up there in Wisconsin, or as they say, what is it? Southern Canada? Is that what they call it? All right. So yeah, I will get that out to you. If not tomorrow, what's tomorrow? Tomorrow's Sunday, Monday. It'll go out in the mail Monday. All right. Let me get this off here. All right, so I got Gabe in the palm of my hand. Da, da, da. All right. Now, for my inlays, I use Type Bond 3. I want permanent. And what I'll do is I'm going to fill the void of Gabe with glue. But I'm not just going to put it on there and make sure, and it looks like it's filled up, because what you'll have happen, you'll actually get air pockets. It'll look like it's solid filled, and I'm not going to be able to pick it up and show you because then the glue is going to run out. But to make absolutely sure that it is fully filled with the glue, is I'll use my finger and run my finger around and make sure that there are no air pockets in there, and it's going to squeeze out and go everywhere. It's going to make a mess. And I don't know of a better way to do it, because you need to make sure that you've got glue in the bottom of the pocket and up the sides of the pocket. And if you've got any air holes or air bubbles in there, when you go to squeeze it out, it's going to pop those bubbles, and maybe it'll feel 80% of it. But when you go to sanding this stuff and cleaning it up, if you've got any voids or air pockets in there, you're liable to pull your inlay out, or pull part of it out. Did I get rid of that one? I had one I did an inlay in the other day as a test. It was on Tony's ice cream. It wasn't that one. Oh, I already threw it away. And because it was the one that got messed up. And I said, well, I'm going to test the inlays. And I ended up doing it too soon. And I had an air pocket in the glue. And then when I was sanding it, part of the Y just completely ripped out because it was a glue error. And I showed that in the live stream. But I'll take my glue and I will fill those voids completely up. I ain't even going to worry about trying to keep it clean or neat, because I'm getting ready to. In fact, I can do this. Switch. All right, so right there, it looks like that's completely covered. There's a little air bubble right there, but how much of a bubble is it? Don't know. That looks good. But I will just run my finger completely around and over that on every single letter, making sure that all the air bubbles, so that was a big one there. That popped, got that out of there. See there? You see that? See how that opened up? It looked like that was completely full, but that's one great big void. And that right there would cause your inlay to fail quicker than anything. Now, this is an excessive amount of glue. Oh, so that E just opened up. There's enough glue that I can move over there and fill that up. Now, once I've massaged that really, really good, I got glue all over my finger. I can just take that little index finger and pick up the G. And then I got to make sure it's not upside down. There we go. Then place it right over the pocket. And just press it in there as good as I can get it by finger. Do the A. Just like working a puzzle, folks. Drop right in there. B. Using just the glue on my index to hold it. Then move it around and find that pocket. There it is, and it dropped right in, and all that glue just squeezed out of there. E. Find that pocket. There we go. Now, while all that's really still good and wet, I'll grab a napkin off the floor. And I have to get one off the floor because I used every single napkin I had cleaning that rollie up this weekend. And now I just wipe the excess off of there. Now, Gabe is still proud. Gabe's probably always proud, isn't he? All right. But that's in there and a little bit proud. And to make sure that I've got full contact, I've got my small Irwin squeeze clamps and a waste piece of wood. I'll take that waste piece of wood and I'm going to put it, I'm lining it up with where about the E ends so I know where I'm at to squeeze. And squeeze that good and tight and put another one over here. And that should have Gabe fully covered. And again, squeeze the glue out of that pocket. Squeeze as tight as you can. And I'm going to let that sit for 45 minutes. And probably what I'll do, though, to make sure I don't glue my board to my waste board to my walnut, is in about 15 minutes, I'll take it loose, pop that board loose, reposition it, clamp it back down again, but I'll have it clamped for a total of 45 minutes under good, tight pressure, and then clean that up. Now, since Andrew is kind of in close proximity to that, I won't work with Andrew at this point. I'll come over here and grab Zoc and do Zoc, and I can glue that up and clamp it. So then I'd have two of the names done. But let's see if anybody's got any questions or comments. We got 150 people. Yay, we've got 150 folks watching. All right, so if there's any of you guys that are here that are first timers, if you sent any of the comments that had just a number 1 or number 2 or number 3, anytime somebody learned something watching me on YouTube and they want to acknowledge, hey, I just learned something from you. Every time they learn something, they'll put a number in. So if they've learned 2 things, they'll put in a number 2. If they put in a 3, they've learned 3 things tonight. And that's just something to help me know that you are there, you're paying attention, you're watching, and you're learning something, and it keeps the analytics and YouTube happy. So we'll look at the comments real quick, see if anybody's got any questions, comments, suggestions, or complaints. See, there's a Grays just said, hey, I just learned something. Ed says, if I get another laser, it'll be a Lasermatic. I tell you, I'm pretty much stuck. I'm thankful I was introduced to Rolly. I'm extremely grateful that Leo is doing what he's doing for my 2-year anniversary. And because the quality, in my opinion, is second to none, I've got a Creality over here that I really like. But it's an open gantry machine, and there are times that I will need an open gantry machine if I'm going to be doing something, especially now that I've gotten really good with print and cut. Using print and cut and an open gantry machine, you could do a 4x8 sign with a diode if you wanted to, but you wouldn't want to do it with this. You'd want to do it with a small open gantry machine. So there's a time and a place for it, and that's what Steve was talking about. The other Steve, there is no one laser that is the perfect laser. It depends on what you're using it for. But for my bread and butter, for my I'm staying with Rolly. I'm not going to be harping every new laser that comes out. I turned down 3 lasers this week. Hey, we want you to feature our laser. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not interested. Chris says laser pecker are as bad as X-Tool for advertising. I've had to block them to stop them from flooding my Facebook. Yeah. Kevin says, Rolly's my second laser, won't go with any other moving forward. Yep. And Chris, cameras are okay, providing every piece of material you use is identical thickness. Got sick of recalibrating every time I use different thickness materials. Yeah, and Dimitri actually has a way of, going in and calibrating and then saving those preferences for each material thickness. So then you don't have to recalibrate every time. You just have to load the preference for that material thickness. And that was okay, but I don't depend on my camera for that. The camera, if I picked up this piece of waste material, and this is right here because there's some good meat on there. I can reuse that for something else. I'm not going to throw that away. But given the shape and with the holes that are in there, I can throw it on the bed, use the camera to get a close, positioning, and then use framing. I don't use the camera for an absolute. Nobody should, in my opinion. I did not use any additional kerf offset on this. And that's from testing on these materials. Every material is different, folks. Only because I've already done this with this material, with both, because this slab of walnut is the other half of this slab of walnut, and the maple is from the same maple that I just processed. So I knew from testing earlier today and putting this together that I did not need to add any additional kerf. But some of your woods will actually have they'll burn different. So their kerf will be different. And that's what I was trying to tell someone the other day whenever they were emailing me. They were like, I'm having issues. I can't understand why this. I said, because there is no one kerf. And if you need to test and then test some more. But your kerf may vary. Your dot size isn't going to change on your laser unless there's a problem with your lenses or something. So your dot size is going to be the same, but your material, if you change your material, your kerf could vary. But based on test earlier today, I did not add any additional kerf to this. And I think the ash wood is one that had that higher burn. I did some inlays with the ash on some phone holders, and that one I did end up having to add some additional kerf. But it's just a matter of testing. Yeah, you could. In fact, when that's what we did here. That's the blue powder coat, red powder coat, and believe it or not, his beak is black. So there's 3 different colors there, black, red, and blue. And that's powder coating, but it was the same process. I burn a pocket in here and then filled the pocket with the powder coating and then use the heat gun to melt the powder coat. So yeah, you could use powder coat. And I answered both of your questions there about kerf. What did someone win? They won I'm making the desk nameplate. That's what's in the thumbnail. It's a maple inlay and a walnut desk nameplate, and I'm making a personalized form. And because it's a personalized, and that's why I ever don't be late is what I put in the description. We had to get a winner right out of the gate. So first thing we did was pull a winner, and that's what we're going to put together, and I'll be sending this out Monday. Did you say 1100 and millimeters a minute? Millimeters a minute. I have to catch myself. I learned on X Tool, and X Tool uses millimeters a second. But every other diode in the world uses millimeters per minute. So I learned initially millimeters per second, and then I had to relearn millimeters per minute. And sometimes I don't know my right from my left, and I will say the wrong thing every time, and so I'll do the same thing with the speed sometimes. But let's see here. Yeah, 1100 millimeters per minute and 100% power. Sorry, Hayden. You know, what I would recommend doing is before you pull the trigger, because I say things could have changed with any companies. Things might change in 6 months or a year with Rolly. You don't never know. Before you pull the trigger and buy your product, be it a Rolly, be it an X Tool, be it a Creality, reach out to customer service first. See what kind of experience you have just trying to get a hold of somebody, and ask some general questions and see, are you able to get a hold of anybody, and how long? Is it something that you have to contact somebody only through email and then you got to wait 24 hours to get a response back? Or do they have something like Rolly Automation has, where the Facebook group, where you've got somebody you can reach out to and get a pretty quick, response? So reach out to customer support before you buy. And I'm guessing you're saying do it on the remake of Steve's. I didn't have time. That thought entered my mind today while I was doing this other, and I'm gonna pop this loose. While I was doing the first desk nameplate, and see, that's wanting to stick. So, and because I might sand it all anyway, it don't really matter. But I'll pop that loose. That's good and glued in there. But now I'm gonna reposition it and clamp it back. But before I ever showed anything like that, I'd actually email him a copy of it and made sure he seen the humor in it before I ever showed it to anybody. Oh, there's Glack. Yeah, he left. left fingerprints all over your machine. I hear you. I asked for customer assistance 2+ years ago and still haven't heard back from anyone. Dimitri got me up and going with MK2. Didn't get the manual, bless his heart. They got you up and going, Ooh, yeah, I tell you, Clark says he engraved a $1,200 brooch with the F1. I bet you were sweating bullets, brother. I don't know if you've seen the replay or the live when I did the print and cut on this. This inlay is Osage orange and Paduke, and I did the inlay first and had it ready to accept a finish, but I needed to add those graphics. I needed to add the cross hatches and the cone, and add the engraving and the ice cream. There we go. And to do that, I used print and cut. And I knew print and cut would work. I had faith in it, but I was nervous as a cat in a room full of rocking chairs, boy. I was like, man, if I screw this up, but I knew if I did it real, real light and it was off, I could sand it away and start over. But I was nervous just doing that. A $1,200 brooch? No, thank you. Michael says the F1 is a killer machine. It's a long one here. Mark says I had an issue with my on-off button on my MK2. Contacted support, and they sent me a new button with instructions. I was still confused, and Leo filmed a 20-minute video for me showing him replacing it. Yeah, I don't know that you'd get that, somewhere else. You might, but I don't know that you would. Looking for questions. Okay, here we go. There's a comment suggestion. Take the face before engraving the address to address the glue squeeze out. Yeah, because I'm going to have to. I'm really lucky with this one. I just set it on the floor. The pocket on the engraving was come out to around 2.8 to 3 millimeter. And this maple that I picked up the second time is 3.1 millimeters. So it's darn near flush now. But the first piece I had was about 4.2 millimeters. And so it would have been very, very proud. And I'd have had a lot of sanding to do. And with that much sanding to do anyway, glue's not an issue. And on one of my pieces, and I haven't tried it yet with the joiner. I really want to try it with the joiner. I did it with my planer. One of my pieces out on the inlay, after it had 24 hours set up with the Type Bond 3, I actually ran it through the planer instead of trying to sand it all down, and it come out great. And it was a piece that was a test, so I wasn't worried if it blowed up. But I think the joiner will give me an even better result and faster than sanding. But let's see here. Someone, are you referring to my finger and my glue? I like my finger, man. And plus I get the glue on my finger, and that's how I pick up my letters, and that's how I position them. Yep. I like my finger painting. Let's see. Toothpick would work fine for finding glue pockets. Yep. But then I don't get the finger paint, and I don't get the glue on my finger to pick up the pieces. And that's actually really handy when you're doing some really small pieces. Having that glue on the finger where it just sticks to your finger. And if you got just the letter I and it's a small one, man, that's a whole lot easier than trying to pick it up or unless you had tweezers. But just having it stick there, and you need to fill it pop right into the pocket. Well, Michael says he'd like to see a finished photo after it's finished and cleaned up. If you're on Facebook, go over to the Hobo with Wood group on Facebook, and you'll see this finished piece posted in the group. In fact, there, and switch. Nope, wrong switch, stupid. That one. Hobo with Wood group. And I encourage you to share your pictures of your products. And what I really love seeing, the wrong one again, dum-dum. What I really love seeing is when people take my designs from Hobo with Wood, create them and or put a twist on them and make them their own, and then show what they did with them. In fact, take a look at this here. This that picture I just had up there. Let's go back there and there. This, I think, was inspired by the nightlight that I did. And I like his version better than mine because I did want to have the light coming through so that it would actually cast stars or up on the wall and stuff. But the one thing I would do here beyond this is I would put some gels behind it. And if we go here, this is a project that Russ did, and he actually, I forget how he said it. I think he said it was not a battle of the two Steves, but combining the two Steves. He took an idea from Steve Ventari and the artwork from the caddy I did this week. So he took the artwork from my caddy, and I think the design of some tea lights from Ventari, and then he took, those are actually lighting gels. The gels you would use like in theater productions, put in behind spotlights and so on to get colored spotlights. He said he got a pack of those off of Amazon, pretty reasonable. And those lighting gels are excellent for doing that. So I would probably put the lighting gels behind that, because that might be a little bit harsh, and the lighting gels would look really great. But go over to Hobo with Wood group on Facebook, and you'll be able to see this piece finished before I mail it out. Now, back to questions, comments. Should put some wax paper between. So, yeah, wax paper, even packing tape even helps. If I was, but because of the way I do it here, I should have probably pulled those apart sooner, but I was so busy talking to you, I forgot about it. But when I'm by myself in here, I'll squeeze them together for about 10 minutes or so, then pop that loose and then reposition it. It won't stick again. And again, if it does stick, it's not an issue because of all the sanding I've got to do. All right, questions. Lots of 2s and 3s. Question marks. How thick is the laminate? I think I missed that part. And I may have already answered your question by the time I seen your question. But this particular maple I'm pressing in here is about 3.1 millimeters. The pocket is between 2.8 and 3. So they're just a little bit proud. So this one will actually have very little cleanup. Get rid of that. Yeah, everybody's saying the same thing there about putting some parchment paper. Yep. And if I was in a position where I was going to have to clamp it up and then leave it for the night, yeah, I wouldn't dare do what I did here, because I intended to pull it back apart and pop that loose. But if I would never do that and then just leave it, because then that would be a problem to clean up. And you may or may not have heard my comment earlier, because I'm so slow getting to these. Different products require different kerfs, different species. And based on test earlier today, I did not do any additional kerf with these, and it's working perfectly. Well, thank you, Tom. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. In fact, I'll use that to go buy me some more RC, because I am out and I'm bone dry, brother. Do you connect your Rolly via Wi-Fi? I do not. Right there's my cable. I was asked about doing that. I think Carl might have asked me about doing that. And I don't have enough faith in it to do it and try it. Not that I don't have faith in this, faith in my Wi-Fi. If I'm doing a job and something drops, and then I don't want to go down that headache of of dropping out my Wi-Fi. Man, everybody, get the wax paper, get some paint. Yeah, the painter's tape and I've heard that the packing tape, just the regular clear packing tape, that works as good, if not better, than painter's tape for this purpose. About poke my eye about with that. Yep, y'all all about that. that wax paper. I have the Falcon 2 20 watt, but since I've been watching, but since I have been watching you, Steve, I want a Rolly. Well, I've got the Falcon 20 and I like it and I love it and I will be using it. But this one is my workhorse. It's fully enclosed. The Falcon's not. I've got that vented, goes out, it's done. Yeah, I can't say anything negative about the Falcon. There's a place for it, and I have not removed it from my workbench. It's still right there. I'm suggesting for Steve's anniversary in June, we give at least $10. He is great at what he does and a fantastic teacher and humorous and well, I am a clown. I'll admit that in a minute. And thank you for the kind words. Thank you. Everybody just show up, and everybody who's not a subscriber, subscribe. If you're not a subscriber to the channel, because that's the other thing, I'm wanting to be at 10,000 subscribers before the anniversary. That'll be 2 years. From June 15th was when I first launched Hobo with Wood. Clack's doing his anniversary a little bit different. I think he's talking about his 2-year anniversary coming up, but that's his 2-year anniversary from being monetized. I'm actually 2 years from my start date, which is a little different. So and he's got where are you at? If you still in here, Clack, you at 40,000 subscribers? Me jelly. So I'd like to be at 10,000 subscribers before my 2-year anniversary. So if you're not a subscriber, subscribe. Mark says solid wood cuts cleaner, giving a smaller kerf than plywood or MDF. Yeah, and I've not worked much with MDF. I'm not a big fan of MDF with the laser. Different, and I'm guessing probably different manufacturers might have different results. But I mean, come on, it's glued sawdust, right? And some of the biggest headaches I have are glue pockets in my plywood. So why am I going to try and cut through one solid block of glue pocket? I'm not a big fan of MDF. 20 minutes, I think. I think the pocket took 20 minutes. If I use all my inlays at 45, can I forget kerf? No. No. The 45, guys, cutting on a 45 is only beneficial when you're cutting out slots and tabs, when you're making boxes. Because if you're cutting anything else out, being on a 45 doesn't matter. If I tried to do this text, it wouldn't be on a 45. I can put it on the machine at a 45-degree angle, but with all those different angles it's got to go through for the letters, it's not staying at a 45-degree angle. The only benefit of cutting on a 45-degree angle is only cutting slots and tabs for boxes. And by cutting on a 45-degree, and it doesn't matter what diode you have, all your diode lasers have got a rectangular spot size, or close to rectangular. They're more rectangular than they are square. Some of them might be ovaloid, but for the most part, they're rectangular. They may have some small radiuses, like I said, making them ovaloid. So don't fill me up with a bunch of comments. But regardless, if it's rectangular or ovaloid, once you turn that at a 45-degree angle, then you take that ovaloid and or rectangular shape into consideration, and it negates that. And by moving on a 45, you have a constant kerf size. You don't have a narrower X than you do a Y, or vice versa. But it only works when doing slots and tabs when you're doing boxes, because then it's going to cut straight up this 45, then it cuts right back down that 45. But if you're doing text or any images or any of that other stuff, the 40, unless if you're doing images will give you just a straight back and forth 45, and you'll have that same. But there's really not much advantage to that. In fact, if your Y is a wider, if your spot size is wider on the Y than it is on the X, if you're doing images, you can take that wider spot size into consideration and use a larger lines per inch and still get the same effect that you would have doing it on the X. So there's lots of things to consider and think about, but 45 only works for doing slots and tabs. Enjoyed my first live show, Steve. Thank you. And Clack, Steve, you and Clack are my favorite people to watch. Great information. Good night, everyone. God bless. Well, thank you, George Bubba. He's probably already gone. George Bubba. All right. Tight Bond 3 is the best wood glue. If you want it permanent. Looking for any questions or comments. Just seeing all y'all going back and forth with each other. Okay. Can you use the jig on a Falcon 2? Well, being that the Falcon 2 is an open gantry system and there is no fixed position at all, you'd have to put your laser in a fixed position. You'd take a large piece of wasteboard, and I think Clack has some stuff like this on the X Tools, where you cut some holes in some wasteboard and then set the feet of the, are they round feet? Yeah, they're round feet on the Creality, and drop those round feet into the wasteboard so that now the laser's in a fixed position. And then once you did that, then you could maybe engrave on the wasteboard where that template would sit, and then you could place that jig right back down in that engraved area, so you could have it in the same position every time. But the trick to this jig and any jig is that it has to be something. The laser has got to be fixed. The honeycomb needs to be fixed. Something, it's got to be in a fixed position. You got to be able to go to the same place every time, or else the jig is sometimes more work than it's worth. Sparky. I don't know what question mark R. Sparky's a pirate, guys. Arr. All right, let's. But that's really tight. And that's, once I clean all that up, that's going to look really, really good. We are at an hour and 54. There's Sparky. Have you posted the location, holes, and dimensions for the MK2? I have. You know what? Let me go look. I think I might have. Let's see here. Go there. Go to the Rolly Automation group. Go to files. Wow. Search files. Hobo. No, I thought I shared them with Clack, but I don't know if I've posted them anywhere yet. I will put them in Hobo with Wood Facebook group, Hobo with Wood group on Facebook. I will put that file for the pin locations in there. So make sure you join up on the Facebook group, Hobo with Wood group. In fact, let me drop that in the comments. Hobo with Wood group, copy, 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 paste. All right, so I just put that, go over to Facebook, join that group, and then make sure I didn't already put it in there. Nope. But there are some files in the Hobo with Wood group already, but I will put this file in Hobo with, not this file. I'll put the pin locations for the MK2 in the Hobo with Wood group. Oh, wrong one, question mark. Picked up some Osage orange at West Penn. Any suggestions on cutting with a 20 watt? Test. Because you can have Osage orange, and especially if you got it at West Penn. If you got it in the project packs, some of that stuff's 2.5 millimeters, some of it's 4 millimeters. There'll be random thicknesses, and here is, show you what I did. If I can find it. All right, so today when I went to do the cutout for my Hobo with Wood, or Hobo Wood, I already knew what my settings should be, but to test my settings, test what I already knew, this little circle right here is a test cut that I took what I thought was going to be the right settings, sent a circle out there and cut it out and seen it, make sure that it was going to work. Got a confirmation, sent the job. But I do that on every time before sending the job out. I knew my settings worked on this one, and this one is about 3.2 millimeters, so or 3.5. That one's thinner, so I knew that it would work on that because it came from the same piece of maple, just thinner. But test, and then test some more. Okay, I don't have Facebook sent to patrons. All right, so Sparky, if you don't have Facebook and you are one of my patrons, send me a message through Patreon, and I will send it to you through Patreon. It is better to do your own measurement. Your assembly can vary them by a millimeter or two, and that can make a difference, except things like pin placement. Yeah, now the pin placement in the LM Laser Maker 2, I'll send out that 12 by 12 with the pin placement, 2.5 inches up, and it'll be spot on every time on the Laser Maker 2. Wondering how that nameplate would look if the woods were switched. Good. It just gone. That contrast is going to look good. But I didn't see any of the maple, 2x2 maple up there, and I'd already researched. These are what's really popular in selling on Amazon, and that's what I'm thinking about doing. All of these jigs that I'm building is because I'm toying with the idea of, if these things are selling for $20 and $25 a piece on Amazon, and I can process them and cut them down and make them cheap enough that I can sell them and make a profit, then I may be doing that too. I may be offering these ready-made, ready to engrave myself for $25 through Hobo with Wood. Once you use the camera, can you shut that off so you don't see it on your work bed? If you talking about in LightBurn, yes. Okay, so go here, and switch. So like right now, there's where I set that up for done. And if you don't about that, just go over here and go to camera controls and turn it off. Say unclick show, and it goes away. Is that what you're talking about? And if you don't want to see it over here, you can turn it off completely. That didn't go away. I don't know why that didn't go away. Update. Nope. And there it is, not faded. And there it is, faded. And there's off. Okay, so I'm caught up on all the questions and comments. In fact, I feel good enough about this that we'll give it a quick sand real quick. Get my air compressor out. And here's my brush, clack. I think clack's gone, but there's my brush. And I do some more fine sanding on it and get all of that on there. Get it all filled in, get them all done. That's going to look really good. Not hard to do at all, folks. It really is not that difficult. Preparation is everything. If you've got the right wood, you've got the tools, the jig. If I didn't have the jig, this wouldn't have been possible. But making the jig, set that in there, easy peasy, create that pocket, and quick inlay and Bob's your uncle. All right, guys. So thank you for watching. Thank you for hanging around. If you're not a subscriber, hit the subscribe button. We're 2 hours in. We're going to call this here, and I'm going to finish gluing this up before I get out of here and go to bed. And then I'll get this in the mail to our winner on Monday. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. Like, share, and subscribe. Like, share, and subscribe. Did I say subscribe yet? I don't know if I did or not, but banners, banners, banners. Like, share, and subscribe. And then just for the heck of it, let's listen to my theme song. There's a hobo on YouTube that only you pay to laser and lots of wood. He's got a glint in his eye and a smile on his face as he burns his designs with his holy laser. Hobo with wood and his rolling laser, lighting up the night with great flavors. It's a funky show, you gotta see it to believe it. Hobo with wood and his rolling laser. All right. Thanks, guys. I appreciate y'all hanging out. Appreciate you being here. If you want to support me, support the channel, consider jumping over to pay. Oh, real quick about the Patreon thing. What I have done temporarily, gold patrons that sign up now, or actually all patrons for that matter, moving forward, all files gold patrons are all still free. But I put a $40 limit on the amount of files that you can download in a month. You can download up to $40 worth of stuff for free without having a problem. But if you're somebody who's super, super busy in the shop and you're creating all these new things and you want a file this month and you've already used up that $40 and man, I don't want to wait till next month. You contact me through Patreon and say, hey, Steve, I've already exceeded this, but I really want this file. I'll send it to you. I'll hook you up. I won't make you wait until the next month. But this is just a way that I'm temporarily throttling those people, the pirates that are out there who are signing up for $20, downloading $540 worth of files, and then leaving after $20. So I've throttled the amount that you can download. You'll still get them all for free. And if you need more than that $40 in a month, all you got to do is say so, and I'll hook you up. But I won't send you $500 worth. But if you would consider becoming a Patreon, patreon.com/hobowithwood. Your support would be greatly appreciated. So, guys, you have a good night. I appreciate you hanging out, and we're going to go finish gluing this up, and I will see you next week. Everybody have a good weekend. And we're going to wait for this to end.